Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cellulite site. I just went to Antarctica and I actually had a question before I went. If cryotherapy kills fat cells, could plunging into freezing cold water, aka cold plunge, smooth cellulite? But I want to be clear, I'm not plunging into the Antarctic water in a swimsuit while a leopard seal decides, do those thighs look appetizing? I saw what happened to a penguin. I watched plenty of other women do it because that's the logic, right? Cold kills fat. Fat causes cellulite, so cold plunging should fix it. Simple, except it's not. And the reason it's not has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with structure. And no, I had no willpower. But if you've ever wondered why cellulite doesn't change, even after the workouts, the clean eating, the cold plunges, the expensive treatments, this is the part most people never explain. Most cellulite solutions focus on attacking it. Laser it, freeze it, suction it, cut it out, escalate the intensity until something changes. And if it doesn't last, well, you probably assume that wasn't the right treatment. Or worse, there's always the next treatment. And yes, some of these approaches can temporarily improve how cellulite looks, but temporary change isn't structural remodeling. It's just shifting the fluid, and that isn't the same as reorganizing your fascia. You can disrupt a pattern, but you can't retrain it with force. That requires consistent signaling over time because cellulite isn't just sitting under the surface of the skin. It reflects how connective bands, fluid flow, and mechanical load have interacted for years. And that kind of change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from what you do repeatedly, like sitting in this chair. Think about extreme dieting. You can force rapid weight loss through sheer intensity, but your nervous system doesn't interpret that as optimization. It interprets it as stress. So it conserves, it compensates, and often it gravitates right back toward its previous set point. Cellulite behaves in the same manner. Force creates disruption, but long-term change requires reorganization. So when the dimpling improves for a week or two and then returns, the conclusion becomes, my cellulite just doesn't respond. But that's not what's happening. It just returned to its baseline because baseline is what your biology has normalized. Your physiology isn't failing. It's simply recalibrating because cellulite tends to appear where the connective matrix has conditioned to repeated patterns or load. Fluid movement is much less efficient. Hormonal influence is higher. Chronic tension has become the baseline. That's not dysfunction. It's just biology adjusting to the repeated experience. Pregnancy, hormones, dieting, high stress, sitting, overtraining. Cellulite isn't a verdict. It's information about what your connective structure has adapted to. There's also a very practical reason thighs are a common sight. In women's anatomy, the gluteofemoral region, which are the hips and the thighs, is normally favored for fat storage. It's metabolically protective. It's hormonally sensitive, and it contains dense, vertically oriented connective septae. In this area, you have hormone-sensitive fat cells, major lymphatic drainage toward the groin, frequent compression from sitting, fibrous septae that run more vertically than they do in men. Under the skin, those fibrous bands anchor downward into deeper layers. Between them sit fat cells and interstitial fluid. When the bands pull downward and pressure from fat and fluid push upward, that interaction creates that visible dimpling. I know I tell you guys this in every video, but for those of you who've never been here, that's what's going on. It's not random, it's structural. Now here's where movement matters. Lymph does not have a central pump like the cardiovascular system does. It relies on muscle contraction, breath, and pressure, and one-way valves. When movement decreases or stress increases, mechanical pumping decreases. Not because you're unhealthy, but simply because the system isn't being stimulated. When fluid clearance slows and tension remains high, tissue pressure shifts. And in all those areas structured with vertical bands, those shifts can make dimpling highly visible. If the thigh isn't experiencing various stimulants, it adapts to holding, and over time, sustained tension shows up as texture. So it's not failure, it's just texture. So understanding that changes how you see it. Let me get back to Antarctica. I was recently on an expedition last month, and yes, the cold plunge was one of the highlights. Freezing water. I mean, genuinely shocking cold. But there they were, women of every age in their swimsuits, jumping off of the Zodiac into that freezing cold water. And yes, there was cellulite on strong women, on athletic women, on women who clearly take care of themselves. And that's when it hit me. If cold exposure permanently eliminated cellulite, Antarctica would be the smoothest place on Earth. Well, no one lives there permanently, so let's use a better comparison. Think about it. Women who live in cold climates, let's say Scandinavia, northern Canada, they would have no cellulite, but they do. Cold climates don't equal smooth thighs. What I saw wasn't for the purpose of fat disappearing. What I saw was the freedom and joy. Nature is raw. Good timing. It's not airbrushed, and yet it's breathtaking. So let's separate the myth from the mechanism. This is Grace, by the way. She's my little girl. Cryotherapy devices use controlled, sustained cooling at specific temperatures long enough to trigger apoptosis. That means fat cell death. A 1-minute plunge in Antarctic water, completely different mechanism. Cold exposure causes a vasoconstriction, then vasodilation when you warm back up. That constrict-dilate cycle shifts fluid, changes circulation, increases metabolic demand as your body generates heat, but it does not selectively destroy subcutaneous fat cells. Again, it's a completely different process. And here's the interesting part. Many people have heard that cold is helpful in releasing cellulite. You'll see that in ads for cryotherapy. But here's what you need to know. Obviously, cold isn't magic, but it is stimulus, and its effects are temporary. So that doesn't fix cellulite. What it does is show you this. Your tissues are responsive. Sorry. A demonstration of how your body organizes to stimulus, not force. And that is the entire principle. So here's the real distinction. We want moments where we don't feel the need to correct, monitor, judge, but ignoring what's happening underneath doesn't change the surface. And attacking it doesn't either. Change happens when we understand what our body has normalized. In my case, it's sitting. And we want to act with consistency instead of criticism. Those women, they weren't correcting anything. They were participating in life. And that's the shift. And I loved watching every minute of it. But this is where some people just don't understand cold exposure. Fascia remodels slowly. Just like strength, just like trust, just like healing. Quick fixes don't stick because structural remodeling takes time. So if you've ever booked a treatment and hoped this will be the one, or told yourself you'd fix it before summer, or simply waited to participate until your appearance changed, or maybe you've just avoided shorts for years like I did. Maybe you've angled yourself in photos like I did. Maybe you stood at the edge of the pool instead of jumping in. I just want to interrupt that story. You were just taught to look in the wrong place, and that's the mistake most people make. It's easy. They chase intensity instead of consistency. So just remember, your system adapts to what you repeatedly do. So ask yourself, what are you repeatedly doing? Not once in Antarctica, not once on a cruise ship, but consistently. Because quick fixes don't stick. Structural change happens through repetition. So you may not be jumping off a boat in Antarctica, but you may just want to go to the pool with your kids this summer and not feel self-conscious. And that's the real goal. So if you want more than a one-time stimulus, if you're ready to reshape how tension and fluid settle in your body over time, I created the Cellulite Circuit Lifestyle Guide. It's built around simple, repeatable practices that your body can and will adapt to. And as remodeling compounds change, happens gradually. It isn't flashy. It feels subtle. It feels boring. It feels like you're wasting your time. But here's the wild part. The shift isn't dramatic. It's behavioral. I didn't even notice a big transformation. What I noticed is I wasn't hiding anymore. And I wore shorts to my 56th birthday lunch a couple weeks ago. Now that felt flashy. And that kind of shift matters. So if you want to go deeper, the link is below. And if this conversation feels like relief instead of pressure, that's not an accident. That's what happens when you stop blaming yourself and start understanding what actually is happening underneath. And honestly, that shift from force to intelligent consistency changes more than most treatments ever will. And it doesn't require a laser.
Thank you for tuning into the Cellulite site. We appreciate you being part of our community, dedicated to exploring and sharing insights on cellulite health. Connecting with confident women like you is what makes this journey so fulfilling. Our mission is to simplify your path to progress and spare you from months of uncertainty. If you're ready to take your journey to the next level, visit thecellulitesite.com to grab your cellulite circuit checklist. Embark on your transformative journey today, and in the coming weeks, witness firsthand how these concepts can make a positive impact. Remember, it's not just about absorbing information intellectually, it's about committing to the work and celebrating the results. A quick reminder, the content shared is based on personal experiences and perspectives and is not medical advice.